Hello and welcome back to Pete the Mower Guy Small Engine Repair. This is my second video, and for this video I chose this hedge clippers. This is actually ones that are hooked up to an Echo, like a pole, like a trimmer. I guess you could put different attachments on it, but it's still similar to any other plain old just hedge clippers or whatever. And what I'm going to show you is taking it apart, sharpening it, and putting it back together. And before you do anything, when it comes to sharpening hedge clippers, you want to make sure your workbench is cleaned off. Because I can tell you, just have the minimal amount of tools that you're going to need. I got a couple of sockets here for taking the blade apart. I also have a Torx wrench for getting the head off. I always like to take the head off of the unit. Makes it easier than trying to have the whole thing together. You're going to be taking blades apart, and one of the most important things about keeping your bench or getting your bench cleaned off is a lot of these hedge clippers, they have bars, if you want to call it that, spacers in between the two blades, so you don't have to worry about over tightening the bolts that keep it together. Some of them just have they thread into the bar, and the nut is what locks them into place. You just have a lot of little stuff that comes with it, so you just want to make sure this stuff they'll grow legs and walk away, especially if you have a messy workbench. So make sure your workbench is nice and cleared off. Make sure you have a pair of safety glasses when you do start sharpening them. And well, that's about all I could think of to say right now. So let's get the head off of this thing and open it up. So I already did loosen up this handle. This handle's in the way of me getting the hedge clipper head off of the rest of the unit, so let me get that taken care of. As I said in my other video, I'm a big fan of Harbor Freight tools. One of the handiest things that they have at Harbor Freight tools are these. They're magnetic parts dish, and what's nice, you stick your tools in it, your nuts and bolts and whatever in there, as long as they're, you know, magnetic, they'll stick to there and you won't lose it. So, got the handle off. Let me set that over here. I think I'm going to grab my bench here and sit in my bench while I'm tearing this apart. Doesn't look like much to it. There's a locking screw right here, and then there's the one that locks onto the shaft here. So I think if I just crack this one loose and take this one out, I should be able to get this head off of this unit. So that's off. This is an Echo, and I'm not a big fan of this, but this is a flexible drive shaft, and they don't have the torque well, the Shindao, I think they use the stainless steel drive shaft, but hey, for the purpose that this doing, I'm sure it just works out fine. So let me get this out of the way. All right. Now we got to get it apart. And I think what I'll do is the bolts that hold the blades together, I'm going to take those off first. So, get my impact, my Harbor Freight 1/4-inch drive ratchet, battery operated ratchet. See if these nuts will come off without me having to hold the end of it. Yep, wrong way. Yeah, this one here, these clippers here probably have the bolts. They look like Allen wrenches, is what holds them together. And I'll show you how I adjust the bolts so that they come loose. As you can see, there's going to be a lot of nuts that are going to come out of here. And just to point this out, these are locking nuts. Okay, they got a nylon spacer or insert in there. It keeps them from vibrating loose. They also have a flat end there to keep them loose, keep them from coming loose. If you lose one, it's not the end of the world. They're readily available at any hardware store that carries hardware, nuts and bolts and things like that. Alright, so I got that off. Let me get these screws out. Find the right Allen wrench for it. Here's what I'm talking about. You know, you got a special washer here. You know, it's a little bigger than any other washer that would fit there because it's, and I'm not sure of the material, but the blades, if you look in there, you can see the blades are gonna reciprocate back and forth on that washer. So one of the things you want to keep together, and if you want to take the time, maybe even slip the nut on the end of it, just so you don't, it's together with it and you don't lose it, or misplace it or whatever. Well, these do have blocks on them. I didn't think they did, but they do. These spacers, all right, I don't know how well that can be seen, but these spacers make it so that you can't over tighten the bolt, and so the blades will reciprocate. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put them all back together. I'm going to put the spacers on the bolts. I'm going to put the nuts back on the bolt. And that way the whole unit's, the whole thing's together. And hopefully I don't lose any. I won't. But this is my reason behind telling you to make sure your bench is nice and cleaned off. Believe me, in a few minutes it'll get cluttered up again, but you don't want to get it too cluttered because you have different tools you're going to need. They're going to get set there, and end up having stuff everywhere. This here, that's just a safety tip. By the way, if anybody can hear that noise in the background, the gas company's putting in new gas lines. And well, of course, they're doing the vibrating, the tamper, making all that racket. My little dog Willow's probably going nuts up there wondering what's going on outside. I know she wants to be a part of it, but I don't think they want her to be a part of it. Almost lost a nut already. Alright, so I got the blades unbolted from the bar. Now I'm going to take the back off. I think I did see a video one time of somebody that sharpened them without taking them apart. And, well, I'm not going to say whether my method's right and theirs is wrong, or if their method is right and mine is wrong. This is how I do it. And the reason I take them apart, and I'll show you, is that I don't know if you want to call it chaff or whatever you want to call it, the grime that when you're trimming hedge clippers starts to build up on the inside of the edge of the blade. And what happens is you're not getting, in my opinion, you're not getting that one blade tight against the other one where it's actually making a scissor cut on your clippings. Oh, and a way to tell that if you need your hedge clippers sharpened is after you're done trimming your hedges, look at the tips where the blade cut the clippings and see if it's frayed. If it's frayed, your hedge clippers need sharpened. My buddy who owns these, geez, that hurt. He's a landscaper, so he uses these things like this all the time. So naturally, he wants them sharpened every year. He sharpens them himself, but he's such limited on how much time he has. He has 6 pair of these, so he asked me to sharpen 3 of them, and he was going to sharpen 3 of them. So yeah, I'm going to take care of it. So let me get a screwdriver. I got to pry this cap off. I'm going to put a pair of cheaters on because some of these, I don't think the Echoes, this is an Echo, I don't think the Echoes do, but the Shindawa, they use needle bearings on the connecting rod. And I'll show you what the connecting rod is on these hedge clippers. Alright, these don't. So there's not a big deal about these ones. This is the connecting rod. And the Shindawas and some of the steels, a more expensive one, they have needle bearings on the inside of here. Now the newer ones, the newer Shindawas, they put the needle bearings inside of a retainer. I don't know if you want to call it a race or whatever, but the needle bearings are actually inside of I would guess it to be Teflon retainer, so you don't lose them. But the older ones, like the Red Max, those needle bearings were just inside of a groove inside of that connecting rod, and they are so easy to lose. Before I pull that connecting rod all the way off, I'll just get some grease and I'll smear all around the edge there, and as I slowly lift it up, I'll keep pushing the grease in with the needle bearings so they don't fall out, and very gently just move them out of the way. So something to keep in mind if you're doing a pair of clippers that has those type of needle bearings in there. You really want to be careful. Alright, now I can get this apart. And there they are. Let me get this here. There's a little felt square that keeps the grease on the inside and the dirt on the outside. I'm just going to set that back in. And I'm going to set all of this back together because I don't want anything getting inside of here. Washer came out. That stays in. And I'm just going to slip this back together. Just keep it out of the way. I'm going to put it on the other workbench. Alright. Here's what I was talking about. If you look on the inside of this blade, and I don't know how good the lighting is, but if you look, you can see the black that's in between the teeth here. In my opinion, and I don't know, like I said, my thoughts are that that's not letting both of these blades mesh completely. There might be a little bit of a gap. Now whether it's a big deal or not, I don't know, but this is how I do it. People pay me to do this. I'm going to do the best I can on it. I'm going to make this work as best as possible. If you look at this, see if I can show it to you. There's a lot of buildup on there. I'll show you how I clean it off. It's pretty cool. But we'll get to that after we get these sharpened up. So I'm gonna pause the camera. I'll have to reposition it, get my tools ready for sharpening it. I might as well show you what I'm gonna do. Let me go get it. What I'm gonna use. Let me go get it. Long time ago, when I first started in the shop and somebody had asked me to sharpen hedge clipper blades, I took them apart like this, and but the only way I knew how to sharpen them was with a file. And let me tell you, using a file is an incredible amount of work. Each blade has, well, let me see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 29 teeth. Each tooth has 2 edges to it. And there are 2 sets of blades. I can't do the math, but that's almost 30. 29, well, just round it off to 30. That's 60 edges, 2 blades. So that's 120 edges that you got to sharp. Well, it'd be more like 116, somewhere in there. Anyways, just give you an idea how many edges are on a set of good hedge clippers. By the way, I only sharpen good ones. These Poland's and Craftsman's, the ones the blades don't come apart like this, I don't even mess with them. You can't take the blades apart, and they're just not worth me wasting my time on. You know, you get what you pay for, and this is a good pair of hedge clippers. So I don't have a problem tearing these apart and sharpening them and putting them back together. But anyways, that's what I did. I used a file. Well, I watched a video on YouTube, and I saw a guy sharpening them with this right angle die grinder, and I was like, that is so cool. So I ran down to Harbor Freight Tools, my favorite place. I bought a right angle die grinder, and I bought the discs to sharpen them. And also I got some pads to clean the blades up. And it was great. It was fantastic. But the only problem was that about a couple minutes into sharpening a pair of hedge clippers, my compressor would kick on, and it wouldn't shut off until at least 20 minutes after I was done. And this takes a while. So what I would do when I would sharpen them is I'd have my compressors here in the shop. It'd be nice to have it in another building, but regardless of all of that, the whole time that compressor's running. And I would get done, and I would go to the computer, and I would type in electric right angle die grinders, and I didn't see any. Well, I'm an instructor for a small engine class, and I walked in one time, and a couple of guys were looking at a video. And so I saw what they were doing, and I was like, oh, I gotta get one. And what it was this right here. It's a Milwaukee M12. Let me open this up. It's a battery operated right angle die grinder. The kit came with this, a charger, and 2 batteries. Pop that puppy in there, put your twist lock backing pad on. Get this loose here. I have a wire wheel on it right now. I was using it for something else. Might have been a video. I like to use the 2-inch. I don't know, there might be 3-inch. I just like the 2-inch. No particular reason. I can't get it off. Let me get it on a tool. I always like to have extra, so if anything should happen, I can't get this part for whatever reason, I have another one. Where did I set? Oh, there it is. Walk out one. If I can get that off. There it is. This is what they call a twist lock. It just goes right inside of there, quarter turn, it locks itself on. Harbor Freight quit selling these, and I don't know why. They weren't as expensive. They're just sanding disc. I like to use the 180 grit. It's a pretty fine grit. But they quit selling those kind and came out with these ceramic disc, and they supposedly last longer. I don't know, as expensive as they were, which they were a little more expensive than the other ones, I don't think they last any longer. So I actually went to the internet, eBay. I'm a big fan of eBay also, and I bought I think it was like 50 of them. I can't remember, but anyways, I bought a bunch of them, and when I start running low, I'll order a bunch more. So one of the things, and this one's looking really chewed up, this here twist lock backing pad is looking kind of chewed up. And when they start getting chewed up like that, when you're sharpening hedge clippers, what happens is they're not supporting the whole disc, and the disc will get caught in the edge of the blade itself and tear it. So I'm probably going to chuck this one here. Find a good one. Oh, here's a good one here. Well, it's a little chewed up, but it's in better shape. I'm going to use this one here. And I do have a new one. I'm trying to save that one when these are completely done. And when I do get that one, then I'll head down and get myself some more, so I always have a backup. So anyways, let me pause this, reposition the camera, and when I come back, I'll show you about sharpening hedge clippers. So hang on, sit tight, and I'll be right back with you. Now let's get back into this. Before I get back into this, get back into sharpening this, just to show, give you an idea what maybe my next segment's going to be on. It's going to be on that. That's one of those kerosene torpedo heaters. They're really cool. I have one myself. I may have talked about it before. That was actually given to me, and I didn't know anything about it, and I figured, what the heck? So I took it apart. I found out the capacitors were bad on it, replaced them. It's been working great. So I use that to heat up the shop quick, and then I'll put on my electric heater to keep the temperature up in here, make it comfortable. But it was a lot of fun working on that thing. So this customer that I had, he has one, and I said, bring it over, let me tinker with it. So they did, and that probably will be maybe my next video. But let's get back to this hedge clippers and get this all done. You can see I have my cable all ready. Let me get the camera positioned here. Okay. All right. That there, that the blade's sitting on, is here, is my lift table. And I'm going to talk about that in my Works For Me segment. But for right now, let's just get right back into this, getting these blades sharpened. pair of safety glasses. These are actually like magnifying safety glasses, which kind of makes it nice. The sharpening hedge clippers. Sure, these lenses are nice and clean. Got my tools all ready. My Milwaukee M12 right angle die grinder that I mentioned before. Again, now that this blade's apart, I think I showed you the buildup that's on the inside, and this actually has, each tooth has 3 edges on it, but I'm not going to sharpen this outside edge. There's no reason to. It's these ones on the inside. The way this works, when it's reciprocating, it's actually slicing the it's not like a lawnmower where a sharp blade hits the grass. This actually is this is going up and down as a shrub is entering that area there. As you can see, it actually slices it. So when it gets too much of a build-up here, it might not be making good contact there to give a clean slice. So that's why I like to take them apart, clean them up nice, and I'll show you how I clean the inside up. But for now, let's just get a blade sharpened. It takes a little while. I do have one of my batteries. I found out that these battery packs, when you buy that kit, you get 2 of these battery packs. And one of them usually lasts for 1 blade. So I put one in the charger, let it charge while I'm sharpening the other. Make sure it's fully charged. So when I get to it, I'll have a nice fully charged battery. I have my extra sanding discs here. This is one of them. This one here, this particular one here, was part of that 50 or 100, however I bought of those. I think it's a 120 grit. I really prefer the 180. It's got a finer grit to it. But hey, this works just the same. I don't think it really makes a bit of difference. So, anyways, I got this set on. I'm going to set this on 3. This has 4 different speeds. I'm going to set it on 3. And I'm going to sharpen one blade. Let's cut that off now. I left my blowgun in the hose, and of course it leaks a little bit. Kick the compressor on, but that's what I was talking about. Using the air die grinder, that thing kicks on and it runs non-stop. 20 minutes after I'm done sharpening 1 blade. So this thing has worked out great. There it is. That's the edge that I want to get. I hope you can see that. Nice, clean edge on it. That will slice the grass, clippings. I'll do one side like this, flip the blade around, do the other side, the same edge, and then I'll flip the blade over and I'll do the other side, the other part of the tooth. I like to have a glove on when I'm doing this on my left hand, because those edges can get quite sharp. There we are. Those edges can get quite sharp, and they can cut you a little bit. So I like to have a glove on while I'm doing this. sparks flying. Well, that's the metal coming off. With a nice edge on it. I'm not taking a lot off of the tube. Just enough to get the nice edge on it. I like to hold it stiff against the table so it's not moving around when I'm trying to sharpen it. Also, sharpening it with the glove, it does get the blade a little bit hot, so will help protect my hand from the heat. This outside tooth is very stiff. Usually the one that's the dullest. That's the one that usually hits the fence wire or whatever. Takes a little more sharpening on that one. And as you can hear, this puppy here doesn't make a lot of noise. If Harbor Freight came out with one of these, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. Or when you compare this to using a file, there is no comparison. I wouldn't do this on a regular basis if it wasn't for this thing. I wouldn't do it with the time involved in that. You saw how long it took to take one of these apart. Then you got to put this in a vise and run over each tooth twice with a file. It's not worth it. But with this thing here, it makes sure it works. Probably mentioned this in the other video. You only have 2 sets of eyes, and they're not replaceable. You can't, break one and run down the store and get another. Now, that sounds silly, but I can't overemphasize the necessity to protect your eyes. These are safety glasses. They're magnifying safety glasses, but they do protect my eyes. And, only got 2 of them, and I need them to do this work. So I'm going to protect them best I can. Now I'm going to take this over to the wire wheel. I'll be gone for a minute here. I'm just going to clean up the excess on here, and then I'll show you what I'll do with the final touch on it. Well, you can see, cleaned up a good portion of it, but to really get it nice and clean, I'll show you what I do. And also, this is the outside edge. This is actually where the bolt goes, and it's sliding back and forth. So I'm going to clean this area up here also, but I'm not going to worry about the outside edge of these teeth because they don't do anything. They're not. It's not imperative for that part of the blade to be clean. But in my opinion, this part here and where the blade is reciprocating, I want to make sure it's nice and clean. So, what I do, I'll switch over to one of these. I don't know what it's called, if it's Scotch Brite or Scrunch Pad or whatever, but it does come from a polishing disc, whatever. It comes from Harbor Freight to get these in a kit. I'll put that on. And my bottle of WD-40, which, by the way, the greatest invention on Mother Earth, next to the wheel, is WD-40. So I'll spray that blade down nice and wet with some WD-40. I try to do it from this side here, so you can see me and I'm not actually blocking it. I'll go over that. I'll go over it with the pad, lots of WD-40. Sometimes, depending on how you're sharpening the blade, there may be a burr that might build up on the cutting edge of the blade of the tooth. And what this will do, this will not only clean it off, but knock any burrs off also. But I'm also making sure that I get close to the edge where the sharpened part of the tooth is. After I do it one way, I'll flip the blade around, douse her down with some more WD-40, and do the other side. Do it in the opposite direction. And I'll flip it over and I'll do that part that rides. Now, to give you an idea how much juice I've used out of my that fuel pack, these lights right here says how much. 4 of them fully charged. 1 of them is almost empty. You can see I'm down to two of them. So it was fully charged when I used it, and you can see how much. You can buy bigger batteries for this, but I found that the 2 that they get with the kit is adequate enough for me to sharpening blades. And although I use this for other things, the main purpose of it is to make sure is for sharpening hedge clipper blades. So I'll switch batteries, packs, just pop right on. That one's in. And you see 4 lights. So I'm ready for the next blade. Now let me grab this one here. I'm going to put a glove on. Like I said, those edges are really short. Off the WD-40. Nice. Now, maybe somebody watching would be saying something like, you don't need to do all that. Well, it's up to you. I'm getting paid to do this job. I'm going to do the best I can. This is what the new blade looks like. Almost a mirror image in it. There's the other edge. You can see all the teeth, nice and sharp. Hope the camera's focusing okay on it. Comparing it to the other one, you can see it. It really did a nice job. So I'm going to do this one. I'm going to leave the camera on. Let's see. Actually, I think I'm going to shut her down, and because it's just going to be the same thing as that blade there. And I'll turn it back on when I put it back together. So take a break here. Be back putting it together. Alrighty. Last night I showed you about sharpening them, sharpening the blades, cleaning them up. I did the other one earlier this morning. There was nothing to videotape. It was the same as the other one. I did want to mention, I know I mentioned it yesterday, that there was no need to clean up these teeth on the outside, and there isn't. There's no movement where those are, so if they get built up with the sap from the tree, shrubs or whatever. It's not a big deal. This area here is where the blade slides. But I did it anyways. I did it on both blades. Just because it looks nice. So anyways, they're sharp and they're ready for cutting, and let's put it back together. I also, same way I cleaned those, is I cleaned the inside of this, because this is also where the bottom blade slides on this one. So I cleaned that up same way with the WD-40 and the Scotch-Brite pad. And now I'm ready to reassemble it. There is a grease fitting on this, and if you're wondering what kind of grease to use, any grease. As long as it's a quality grease, any grease is good to use. Any grease is better than no grease. So I did take this off. I wiped the connecting rod off. I set it here somewhere. And I'm going to put some white lithium grease. I don't know if I got any left in this tube, but I'm going to put some of this on there just so it's not dry. It's pretty, it's pretty simple to reinstall. These blades. Here's the connecting rod. Let me wipe it off. As I said, these connecting rods, they don't have any bearings on the inside. And if you do decide to take this job on yourself, please be aware of those needle bearings. If they're not in some kind of retainer and you don't use something and use care, a lot of care, taking that connecting rod, those needle bearings may drop off. And if they drop off inside of this gear case, you got to get them out. Or one of those needle bearings are going to get caught on one of those gears, possibly break the gear, possibly just lock it all up. So if you do decide to do this, use patience, be careful. I know that the older Shindawas, if you're familiar with the brand name Red Max has loose needle bearings in them. I know the newer Shindawas, they have the plastic retainer that the needle bearings are held in with that, which is nice. The Echo here, they don't have them, so you don't have to worry about them if they don't. I'm just going to set these two puppies back together. I'm going to put some, if I got any grease in here, I'm going to put some of this grease. I have another tube, but it looks pretty empty. There's some in there. Let me get another tube. White lithium grease. It's handy stuff to have at home too. I mean, if your car hinges, different things like that. It's great grease to use. It says here it's high pressure, something like that. I'll use this, and then I'll give, after I get it back together, I'll give it a couple of shots with the grease gun. And the grease I use in my grease gun is the red and tacky grease, or I forget. I got mine from Rotary. I forget the name of what it's called, but it's a really good grease. So, anyways, smear some grease in there.
The moving parts. Get some around that button right there. Here.
Keep a rag handy. Alright, I got the teeth on, or the cutting blade. I'm just gonna get her lined up. Alright, she's on. I think I'll give it a little bit of grease on top too. As I said, you know what? I don't think there's any such thing as over greasing them. Or maybe there is. I never had any issues with it. Alright, got that on. A little dust shield. Might need a little screwdriver to help get it in place. Now let me get a little screw. Oh, I got one right here. This will work. If you asked me if it was imperative to have that dust shield on there, I couldn't honestly answer that. I'm going to take some of this grease off of here. I just have always made sure that it was on. As I said, you can't over grease these. Eventually grease will work its way out. I mean, you don't want to put a whole entire tube in it. I don't think I needed to say that. But, there she is. Let me find the right wrench for this. That one there. I don't think it's a big deal on how you put these screws in, whether you go in around it or you stagger it or whatever. I don't think it's a big deal. But I have found it better not to tighten them all up at first, because you tighten one up and maybe the holes won't line up because it's cocked to the side a little bit. So I just want to get them all started in there. And then I'll go around and tighten. Now what I should do, that I didn't, and I brought one with me, usually if it's just a handheld pair of Hedge clippers and you take the gear case off of the engine itself, you got that bell clutch. You can turn the clutch to see if the blades are reciprocating properly. This being a pole trimmer, and the drive shaft fits on inside of there, well, you can't exactly do it that way. So what I do, I get them lined up, and I'm able to stick a screwdriver right in the end there and just give them a turn, and I can see those blades are working properly. So I'm okay there. Now I think I'm going to take these. I'm going to put these are the nuts and bolts and the blocks that go in between the blades. I'm going to clean them up in the parts cleaner, blow them off, and then I'm going to put them in. Get any old stuff off them. Now I know I shouldn't be putting my hands in that parts cleaner, but yeah, I do it anyways. And if you ever wonder what to use as a parts cleaner, don't use gasoline. Gasoline's too volatile. And kerosene and diesel fuel, they stink to high heaven. What I use, what I read, and what places like that supply parts cleaner use is mineral spirits. Mineral spirits, and what's mineral spirits? Paint thinner. It's low volatile, it's odorless, it really cuts the grease, and that's what all of them use. So that's what I use. I use mineral spirits. I got a little parts cleaner over there. Got it from Harbor Freight. And you know what? This would be a good time to mention it. Harbor Freight does not endorse, or I do not, they haven't contacted me to endorse them. I don't think they ever will. Harbor Freight, for a small shop that I have like this, Harbor Freight has been really, really great for me. A lot of the tools that I have here, being such a small shop, if I would buy the top quality ones, I would be buried in debt. And just a small example is, I bought a chop saw. And what it is for cutting steel. And at Harbor Freight, well, I saw a good one. I think it was a DeWalt. And if I remember correctly, it was over $100. And I don't do enough welding or cutting steel or any of that to justify spending $100 on a chop saw. And well, one day I was at Harbor Freight, and they had a chop saw, and at that time, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure, I know it was less than 40 bucks. So for me to spend 40 bucks on a chop saw, it was well worth it. I don't use it all the time. It sits over there collecting dust right now, but when I need a chop saw, it's worked out well. So if it ever goes and I needed to buy an expensive one, that's a different story. But for me, for now, Harbor Freight has been great for my shop. So as I said, you're going to hear me singing their praises a lot. I know a lot of people complain about it being cheap, but you know, some things I won't buy. I'll buy expensive ones. One of them are this is the Elkin brand, Torx wrenches, things like that, because I use it all the time. And I did buy a cheap pair one time, and the tip of it broke off, and it was like, nah, I'm not buying any more Harbor Freight Torx wrenches. So anyway, just to share that, I don't get a kickback from Harbor Freight for endorsing them. I just know how well they've been for me. So all right, let me get this back together now. And again, pay close attention to how you took it apart. You got the screw, goes through the bottom. Maybe I could just thread them all in. Now, no, maybe I better just do one at a time. Your spacer. I didn't realize, I just kind of thought that maybe there was just a lot of garbage built up on the threads. But I didn't realize that these screws actually screw into these Allen bolts, actually screw into this bar. I didn't realize that. I may have been able to leave them on. Looks to me like these blocks have been used quite a bit. They show signs of wear, but I don't think it's to the point of going out to replace them. I have seen these little blocks where the sides were worn out. You know, well, when it's that time, when you see that, it's time to replace them. Not exactly sure what the purpose of this would be. See, I know what this tip does. It's no, it doesn't even go here. It goes on the handle. Okay, so I got my last one here. Let's see. I guess that would be the top of it. So I got to put that through there. I could honestly say that these clippers here are easier than the handheld clippers. And you can just take the whole gear case off like that. Sure does make it easier. So, anyways, let's get this all tightened up. Got my handy dandy 1/4-inch drive, Harbor Freight Hercules battery operated socket wrench. I was really surprised how much torque this thing really has. I mean, it really does have a lot of torque for being just a 1/4-inch drive. I don't know, I'm going to guess this, but I would guess that the 1/4-inch and the 3/8 inch probably has everything the same except the tip being a 1/4-inch instead of 3/8. Alright, I'm back. At the end of the last segment, I was reassembling the trimmer head, the hedge clipper head, was finishing it up, my memory card, and the camera shut down and said no more memory on the card. So I did just reassemble it, as you can tell, and just to make sure it works properly, I just stick a screwdriver. You're not going to be able to see inside there, I don't think, but I can stick a screwdriver in there and just turn the screwdriver. You can see the blades are reciprocating, so everything's working good. Blades nice and clean, all reassembled, all the bolts are tight, nothing left over in the tray. So I can put it back onto the power head and tighten up, and hopefully it'll run okay. I'm going to take the camera outside when I fire this up. If I fire something up in the shop, I don't run it very long. And I know the toxic fumes that these small engines let off. And usually when I'm done, I do open up the door and let the air out. There it is. Said it in any other videos, I'm going to say it again. Patience is a virtue. If you don't have patience, this isn't something you want to get into. I have stories to tell you about people with patience or without patience, let me put it that way. Has no patience on this. You have to have it, because nothing's going to go 100% smooth. Never gotten angry at a piece of equipment. I mean, yeah, sure, something didn't go right, and I'll swear at it or something like that. But to actually take the machine and throw it and destroy it, all you're doing is giving yourself more problems. Just got to figure out what's wrong. So, anyway, I got her split back together. I'm going to tighten up the bolts here. I'm not going to take the camera. I'm going to fire this thing up outside. I'm not going to take the camera out. I'll just pause it, and if I have trouble getting started, I'll let you know. I'll let you know either way, because after I get this fired up, I'm going to do my segment on what works for me. So, anyways, got her all back together. Oh, got the handle assembly to put on. Where did I put that handle? Another flame around here somewhere. There it is. Oh, that's where it is. Here it is. Get that back on. There she is, back together. One last thing before I do take it out. I did put some grease, some of that white lithium grease inside the gear case when I was reassembling it, but it does have a grease fitting on it. I think most of them do. I don't know any that don't, to be honest with you. Right there. I'm going to give it 6 shots of grease. I think I said it earlier that if you ask me what kind of grease to use, I think I mentioned it. Any grease is better than no grease. I buy the red grease. It's real tacky. Done it on spindles assemblies, on riding mowers, and I've never had to replace a spindle because the bearings went dry. This grease is really good grease. So, there's a grease that I say for all around purposes, it's really top quality, it's the red grease. I can't think of the brand names I used to get it. I can't think of Lubriplate. No, I forget. Anyways, red grease, real tacky. Sticks to your moving parts, and as I said, never ruined the bearings. Two of everything. Backup for a backup, as my buddy said. Anyways, I'm going to give it 6 shots of grease. There. All right. That thing should be ready. Trim some shrubs. Another trick I like to do, I use a lot of WD-40. It's great stuff. As you can see, I was using it to clean the, before I go on, one thing I didn't mention, that I should mention is, if you take a job like this on, make sure you have plenty of rags, because you're going to get grease all over your hands. But anyways, getting back to the WD-40, I'm going to take this outside. I'm going to spray both sides of the blades with WD-40. And if you're using hedge clippers, it's a good thing to do. When you're going to go out there and do some work with these things, you want to grease the gear case and, spray WD-40 on the blades every time you use it. Helps keep them clean, sharp, and working good. So let me take this outside. I'm going to pause the camera and come back, let you know how it worked, and talk about what works for me. Well, the hedge clippers work good, but there's a little problem. I fired them up at an idle, the blades kept reciprocating. So there's an issue with this clutch. So I'll tell my buddy about it, let him know. Maybe he probably already does know. Maybe it just needs used. I don't know, but hey, the hedge clippers work great. So I'm pleased to see that. All right. Oh, and by the way, in between the time of recording this and putting it in a computer and everything else, I ended up sharpening and get the other two ready. So he's set. He's set for spring. He's set for doing some shrubs. Blades are all nice and sharp. These two fired up nice. They ran nice. I don't know what the issue is with this. I got the feeling there's something going on with that clutch. But maybe I'll check it out for him. But anyways, that's my segment on sharpening hedge clippers. And you'll need to determine for yourself whether you're capable of doing this or not. If you have the mechanical ability and the patience to do it, all I can say is pay very close attention. Make sure your workbench is clean. Pay very close attention to what you're taking apart. Make a mental note of it. Take pictures of it, however. And, just reassemble it. Make sure there's nothing left over. And you should be good to go. So, anyway, like I said, that's my segment on sharpening hedge clippers. Right now, I'm going to talk about this workbench I have here. It's a lift table. I got it from Harbor Freight. Back in, when I first started doing this shop, I was in my mid-40s, and I was using a, what the heck was it called? It was Workmate, that's what it was, Workmate workbench. And every time I worked on a push mower, I would bend over, lift it up, set it on a Workmate, did my work to it, lift it off, set it down. If it didn't fire, lift it back up. And I knew that as time went on, this is going to really destroy my back. And I have a MIG welder sitting there, and I was trying to see if I could fabricate something in my head. Well, lo and behold, that's when Harbor Freight Tools opened up. And I don't know if I was looking. I think I was looking through one of their catalogs, and they had this. They have two of them. They have a 500 pounds. They have the 1,000-pound lift table, and I bought it. I went up and bought it. I thought, boy, this would be perfect for doing mowers. So I went and I bought it. I forget what it was. I'm pretty sure it was around $300 plus or minus $300. And it's been great. It really has saved my back. I did some modifications to it. Like this down. I'll grab the camera and show you. When I got it, it had a, the table was a 20-inch. Moving around a lot. This was the width of the table. So I was able to get a couple of pieces of metal fabricated, 3 inches. I welded it on each side. Now, I could fit any mower on here. Up to the 21 inches, they fit right inside of there. Another friend of mine gave me these things here. I'll show you what they are. I'm moving the camera around a lot here, but I could set this on there, locked in. Now if I got to strap something down, I could just strap it across there, ratchet strap, whatever, and holds it in place. I've done it. I've used it. I've welded this piece of angle iron here on the back of it, and I put a bar of steel across this side here to keep it from rolling forward. It's this bar right here. And it's actually the second one I've owned. I bought one, and then when I bought this, when I had the shop built, I bought another one thinking I was going to have one over here and one over there. And well, as I said earlier, I think I said earlier that I moved everything over here and I didn't have a need for it. So I ended up taking it to the cemetery, and I actually left it there. I sold it to the cemetery when I retired. But what I did do, this tabletop here was on the other one. And with all the work that I did to it, I switched the tables. I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to paint it white. This red and orange, it was originally orange. I painted it red. I don't know why I did that. But I should paint it white. It'll make it a lot easier to see. Bolts or anything that I drop. So in time, I may do that. I'm going to set the camera down, show you what it's like to use, and how it works. So let me get the camera set up here. Excuse my face. Squeeze the handle right here. Table goes down. Let me reposition the camera a little bit. All right, that ought to work. Grab the mower, push down on the handles, push it over, pick it up, roll it across there, and then jack it up. And it brings it to the perfect height for working on. Get all your work on it, carburetors, everything. You can, if it's too tall, you can always let it down a little bit. But besides lifting mowers, I also use it as a workbench. As you can see in this video here, how often I use it for sharpening the hedge clipper blades. So anything happened to this thing, I'd go and buy one out. I wouldn't even think about it. I'd go out and get it right now. As I said, a lot of guys that come in here and they see this table and see me use it, they're like, wow, that's cool. What's that? But I can't say this, I can't overemphasize it, how much this has worked for me. So that's the end of it. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, as of now, I don't have anything. As I'm talking here, I don't have anything on YouTube. Hopefully I do. Hopefully you'll get to see this. And if there's a thumbs up button, give me a thumbs up. Any comments, go ahead, I'll read them. Thanks again for watching.